The first live letter for patch 7.3 has officially been announced for June 20th at 4 a.m. PST, and because of that, we have a pretty good idea of what the timeline of 7.3's release is going to be. My guess is that we're going to have live letter part 2 on July 25th, and that means that patch 7.3 should be out on August 5th. So that leaves us with a little under 2 months until the patch is out, and I just wanted to put together a video kind of just touching on where my progress is at the moment. Now, if you are interested, I do have a full 7.3 prep video that you can find here, and this will give you the details of everything that you need to know for 7.3, but it doesn't give you a realistic look into what I actually do myself. Everything here is kind of theory where I am telling you what you can prep, but it doesn't show you what I personally prep. Now, I do have a lot of fun prepping and making sure that I'm ready for patches, but I don't do as much as some people assume I do. I actually just kind of prep myself for a decent amount depending on how much I feel like doing. I never want to burn myself out when I'm doing all of this so that I don't enjoy the game. I only do any of my prep work if I'm having fun and actually wanting to do it. So I'm going to just kind of cover everything that I have prepped so far and give you an idea of where I am, so maybe you can compare to where you are. Now, the thing with 7.3 is that there is no big rush to actually get everything done on the first week even of that patch release, because there's nothing that the new gear is going to require other than maybe helping out your current cosmic exploration progress, which there are some missions in there that are a little more difficult with the gear that we have right now, and the new 7.3 gear will make them more useful, but we're not going to see another planet release until probably 7.31, but my guess is it's probably going to be more like 7.35. We'll see during this first live letter if they give us a timeline for that, but there's nothing that you need to really worry about, because the things that the 7.3 gear is going to be most used for is the new Savage Combat gear, which doesn't come out until 7.4, which should be somewhere in December or maybe early January. My guess is it's going to be later in January because they'll take off a week or two for the holidays. All of that is to say that the prep that I'm going to kind of go over today is giving rough numbers of what I would try to aim for if you are looking to be very, very prepared. But me personally, I don't know if I'm going to make these exact numbers, but I'll aim for these to get pretty close. The biggest thing that is going to be, I think, the most grind is really just having the materia prepared. The materia that I'm going to kind of go over is a pretty high requirement amount, and it's because I'm aiming for a pentamelded set for everything, including all of my crafter tools, because I want to be a little bit more prepared during cosmic exploration than I have been in my past. Normally, I don't actually pentameld my tools for crafter at all, just because you're introducing 16 more pentamelds if you want to do every single crafter job, and that's just too much work for me. That's essentially doubling the amount of gear, because you're only really pentamelding, you know, the 10 pieces, and if you add another 16 tools, you're 2.5 times more materia deep for your crafters if you're doing that. What I end up doing normally is just put like one meld just for CP on my tools, or using the relic tools are more than enough because they are just the same exact stats as the crafted tools, just with that added CP. So keep that in mind when we're looking at the materia. So let's start with materia. I have a decent amount of materia. I've got 72 of the craftsmanship, I've got 140 of the controls, and 32 of the CPs. These are the level 12s for my crafter materia, and then I do have 91 craftsmanship, 234 of the control 11s, and 92 of the CP 11s, and then I have almost 200 of the CP 9s, because I know I'm going to use these for a lot of the overmelds, and these are much cheaper and easier to get. I've been getting these from Island Sanctuary myself. So if you do have an island that you've maybe forgotten about for the last, couple of years, it is a good idea to just go in there and use up any currency that you have, or start doing your island once a week if you want to, just to be able to earn a little bit of these materia. I also would recommend getting some 9 GPs. And I actually do have a full list that I just pulled up on the screen here. This is all of the materia that I am personally prepping and what I have at this moment in time. These are down the center line. Here is how much I want and how much I need is how many more to actually hit that number. I can just input how many I have here and it's going to auto calculate for me. So this is giving you a decent idea of where I'm looking. And if you take a look here, I don't have nearly as much crafting materia as I would really like, especially the Control 11s and the CP9s, which I'll end up getting those from Island Sanctuary, so I'm not too worried about that one. But my overall amount of materia for crafters is a little bit lower than I'd like it to be, but I do have a little bit of a plan for that. If you've seen one of my previous videos that I did before 7.1, I think I'm not really too worried about this one. I do have quite a lot of groundwork put into making some of my crafting materia up, and that'll be released in a future video, so stick around for that one. Don't forget to subscribe. When it comes to gathering materia, though, I'm going to be doing primarily just gathering of these items that are on this list here, and I'll go ahead and extend this out a little bit so you can see a better look. These are the 7.2 legendary nodes, and you can do a little bit more with some spirit bonding if you have ever seen my other spirit bonding guide, or if you have an idea of how to do spirit bonding for your gatherers. That's definitely what I would recommend doing, just because you can get a lot of gathering materia really easily. I am, again, pretty far behind on my gathering materia from where I need to be, but this will take maybe like 5 or 6 hours to be able to catch up. I think you can get somewhere between like 50 to 60 materia an hour if you use the really try-hard method. So, but it is random materia, so I'll be able to get there pretty easily. I'm not worried about that one. Now, excuse my messy inventory because I just haven't been keeping up with it lately. But another thing that you'll want to be able to have stock of is the 7.2 master recipe like tome materials. So if you go to your master recipe 12s, like these things here, octahedrite nuggets and the diatrama felt and things like that, all of these ones here, now these are actually going to be needed for the 7.3 gear itself. So you do want to have a little bit of stock of those, and I'll actually expand here. I've got this as well on my sheet. You can see that these are the approximate number that you're going to need for a full crafter gatherer set with all of your tools, just to be able to make yourself one set of gear. And that's really all I aim for. I don't really get into selling things on the market. I'm just here to maintain my own stock and be able to make my own gear because I just have fun doing that in the game. So these are the numbers that I would aim for if you're just looking to make one set. So obviously if you're looking to sell some, you're going to want way more than these. These are just a guesstimation based on the indicators gear from 6.3. I have a whole video kind of talking about how I do my prep. I'm not going to get into it too much. Just know that these are the numbers that I'm aiming for. These are what I have right now, so I'm actually lacking the most on the nuggets. I have everything else I need. I didn't realize that I'd need so many nuggets when I originally started going through here. I do have a lot of the Shalolani coke already, so I just need to get some more octahedrites to be able to finish that up. So I just need to do a little bit more gathering and I'll be set on that. The next thing you really want to be stocked up on is you are going to need condensed solutions, which you can buy right now for Orange Crafter scripts. I have 276 of those. You only need about 112 to be able to craft the set. I just have a lot of extras. I was just kind of AFK watching shows and making some of the rarefied tacos since I had so many extra materials for those. So I turned those in. I should probably get some more materia doing that, but I'm kind of done making tacos for now, even though I have a bunch of extra material. The rarefied tacos are really easy to make if you have like a retainer, especially if you have a botanist retainer and one combat retainer. You can gather all of this pretty easily. If you don't have a combat retainer, don't forget that you can get these with bicolor gemstones, and it's a really good time to do some fates to earn bicolor gemstones because you can get your demi-atma for your relic weapons as well if you haven't finished that up. For purple scripts, I'm doing rarefied stuffed peppers because I am trying to save some inventory space because I do have a lot of random stuff in my inventory right now, like that Levin silk that you saw. So using these ones, these will get you 100. What is it? I think it's like 198. Yeah, this will get you 198 scripts each, where the other one that I would recommend is the Psychon Bavaroi, but that only gets you 114 scripts each. So this one saves you about like 75% of your inventory space. So right now I have a 302 of these, which is more than enough for the amount of purple scripts that I'm going to need. And I'm calculating this based on needing about 112 of the purple script items, and those costing 500 purple scripts each to be able to make one set of gear for myself. So I have a little bit more than I'm going to need at the moment. But again, if you're looking to sell some stuff, you're going to want a little bit more than that. But don't blow up your inventory doing these. Just, you can do them when it comes out too, and just turn them in as you go. It's a lot easier. Having 302 items taking up retainer space has honestly been killing me. So it's not something I really recommend doing more than that, especially. The next thing that I'm going to focus on is food prep. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this down a little bit so it doesn't take up so much screen space. But food is also going to be really, really helpful to have ready to go once the patch is out, because you don't want to have to sit there and craft your own food to be able to craft the gear while you're on the go. So ceviche is going to be that higher tier food that you're really going to want to have. It's going to be the higher craftsmanship and CP, probably a little bit easier to craft the gear once it comes out with this food than it is with something like the Ronique steaks. But I'm going to have some Ronique steaks on hand just because I do think it might work out all right as a budget food still. Both of these foods, technically there will be a newer food that should come out that will offer more CP and control than the ceviche does at the moment, or than the Ronique steak does at the moment. But honestly, I'm not going to worry about that one when it first comes out, because it's going to be a pain to craft that food. I'd rather have food ready to go beforehand. Then, of course, you're going to want to have some Honeying Craftsman Tisanes. I got 68 ready to go. I do want to get a little bit more just so I have some. These only last 15 minutes, so you burn through them pretty quickly. In terms of gathering, I've got a good amount of food. I've got Corrali Pineapple Pons Cake. I got 140 of those. I've got some Nasi Goreng in case I need some GP with gathering. And then somewhere in here, I have some stuffed peppers as well. There they are. This is the one I do want to get more of. I think Perception and GP is probably going to be a little bit more useful than anything else. So this is the food I want to prep. I want to get about 100 of these ready to go, because there is going to be those 2 new nodes in 7.3 that you're going to need to gather. And they're going to be new legendary nodes. So those items are going to be in high demand. I want to be able to get them as quick as I can, so that I can maybe sell a couple extra on the market just to make a little bit of gil when the patch comes out. And of course, I've got 140 superior spirit bond potions. These are pretty easy to make. Something I definitely recommend doing, especially if you want an easy money maker, is superior spirit bond potions. Again, all you really need is 1 mining and 2 botany and a combat item. So if you have like 4 retainers or even 3 retainers, 1 each, you can get these items pretty quickly, and these sell for a decent amount. Like, let's go take a look over here, and they sell at a pretty high rate. They're going for about 1100, 1200 each, sometimes even higher if you're selling in stacks. People are buying these a decent amount. Like, this is a little bit lower than I would expect, but once the patch comes out, these will be a little bit more in high demand, because people are going to want to be able to get their materia spirit bonding pretty quickly. So here again, this is just the full list. I'll link this in the description, so if you want to use this for yourself, you can. These are really just the things that I'm aiming for myself. There is a little bit more that you can do if you, especially if you're looking to sell stuff to the market to make some gil during the patch. And if you're doing something like that, selling all of these raw ingredients, especially right now, is actually really good. Anything that's for the collectibles, like the stuffed peppers, the tacos de carne asada, or even the Saigon Bavaroy, like, these items are really, really in high demand, especially as we get closer to 7.3. We're in that weird downtime period right now where it's like mid-patch, right? It's about 2.5 weeks since 7.2 came out, and so a lot of the markets and player base is kind of taking a break. They're maybe distracted with Occult Crescent since that just came out, so a lot of people are not looking at the crafting stuff right now. But as we get that hype for 7.3, a lot of this stuff is going to pick up. You're going to want to go ahead and get ready. You can make some gills, selling some stuff on the market, etc., etc. But again, don't stress about it. Make sure you're just having fun. That's what the game's all about. At the end of the day, only do what you have enjoyment doing. There's no obligations to force yourself to do anything in the game. Just make sure that you're having a good time. That's it for this ramble video, though. I hope this kind of gave you an idea of where I am, where you should maybe be if you're trying to keep up at the pace that I am, or if you're ahead of me, then you're doing a great job. Thank you very much for watching. I want to give a quick shout out here to all of my members scrolling across the screen here. You can become a member as well for only $1 a month. You don't have to, but it just shows me a little support, and I really do appreciate it. It will get you access to some of my videos early, a high quality symbol by your name, and a special role in my Discord server if you do want to join us there. If you did find this helpful though, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope you're hyped up for the 7.3 live letter. Make sure you subscribe to get some news once that's out. Have a good one.